You take the vacation, turn off the alarm, and sleep in. For a full week, you step away from your desk and your daily obligations. By all conventional metrics, you executed a perfect self-care protocol. But Monday morning arrives, and that expected return on investment, waking up restored, is entirely missing. The fog is still there. You are left staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out if your recovery strategy is broken or if you simply lack the willpower to get going. Here is the harsh reality. Rest is an incredibly effective cure for being tired, but it yields a 0% return on investment when applied to clinical depression. Looking at the decision pathway for profound exhaustion, everyone starts here. Implement a baseline rest protocol. The diagnostic split happens afterward. If your mood lifts, you were exhausted. But if 2 weeks pass and you still feel completely flat, you haven't failed at resting. You are encountering a critical biological signal. Feeling terrible after prioritizing sleep isn't laziness. It is a massive indicator that you are trying to treat the wrong condition. The standard burnout protocol is straightforward. Pull back from your responsibilities, hydrate, sleep, and give your physical body a chance to recover from chronic stress. But clinical conditions introduce a symptom called anhedonia. This is the profound, unshakable loss of joy in the exact activities you'd usually love the most. Applying a burnout protocol to anhedonia creates intense psychological friction. You book a trip expecting the beach to make you happy, but you arrive and feel absolutely nothing. Misdiagnosing yourself this way compounds the damage. You prolong your own suffering, you lose weeks of time, waiting for a magical turnaround, and you accumulate an intense amount of unearned guilt for not feeling better yet. Accurately differentiating between situational exhaustion and a pervasive mood disorder is the only way to stop wasting your time and energy on the wrong cure. Burnout operates specifically as an environmental and situational response. It is a reaction to your surroundings, not a clinical mood disorder. The primary triggers are external. It stems from chronic workplace friction, unrealistic productivity demands, or the intense, ongoing stress of being a full-time caregiver. Evaluated on a comparison matrix, burnout is stressor-dependent. It creates an immediate cause and effect relationship. Physically remove yourself from the toxic environment, and your nervous system registers safety. Because of this link, burnout's response to rest is rapid. Energy restores as pressure drops. The trade-off here is sustainability. Rest works quickly for burnout, but it is strictly a temporary patch. If you return to the exact same unchanged environment, the exhaustion will immediately resume. Setting hard boundaries and taking time away is a highly effective, positive ROI strategy, provided your exhaustion is exclusively tied to an external pressure. Clinical depression operates on entirely different biological rules. It is a pervasive medical condition, not a delayed reaction to a bad week at the office. This matrix highlights where depression diverges. Its mechanisms ignore your environment. It's unresponsive to stress reduction. You can sleep 14 hours and wake exhausted. Rest generates a 0% ROI. Clinical indicators persist through vacations: deep fatigue, appetite shifts, and internal worthlessness. Trying to treat these clinical symptoms with rest presents a painful trade-off. You invest significant time isolating and sleeping, only to experience absolutely zero symptom relief. When standard recovery protocols completely fail to move the needle on your mood, you have crossed a threshold. The solution is no longer another nap, it is professional escalation. The required pivot is engaging with a licensed professional therapist to structurally address the condition from the inside out. This requires specific, evidence-based tools. Clinical interventions like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and acceptance and commitment therapy, known as ACT, provide the necessary framework. Utilizing CBT and ACT gives you actionable mechanics to rewire persistent low moods and actively process trauma. You stop masking the stress and start dismantling the root cause. The trade-off is significant. Committing to clinical therapy requires carving out a weekly time slot, and it demands the emotional friction of confronting difficult, uncomfortable internal issues. Initiating therapy asks for much more upfront effort and vulnerability than taking a weekend off. But it is the only pathway capable of yielding sustainable, long-term mental health stability. Even when people recognize they need a therapist, two massive barriers keep them stuck: the high out-of-pocket costs, and the absolute burden of commuting to an office mid-workday. Coping and Healing Counseling, or CHC, was built specifically as a logistical solution to eliminate both of these barriers for Georgia residents. This financial breakdown illustrates how CHC bypasses the private practice premium. By operating heavily on an insurance model, clients with Medicaid pay a $0 copay, while major networks like Aetna, Blue Cross, and United Healthcare bring sessions down to just $10 to $40. The trade-off to this highly accessible financial model is that you must navigate upfront insurance verification, and access to their 15-plus licensed therapists is strictly limited to residents of Georgia. Logistically, CHC operates entirely as a 100% HIPAA-compliant telehealth practice. Telehealth lacks the physical, in-room presence of a traditional therapist, but for time-poor professionals across all 159 Georgia counties, it offers unmatched convenience. You log in, get clinical support, and get back to your life. CHC strips away the logistical friction. They make professional, evidence-based care accessible without forcing you to add commuting stress to your baseline burnout. Let's return to our core principle. Rest fixes tired. It does not fix sad. To determine your exact next steps, look at this 14-day rule clinical scorecard. First, evaluate the timeline and the anhedonia. Have your symptoms persisted for more than 2 weeks? And is the joy completely missing from your usual hobbies? The final, most critical criterion, is your standard rest protocol completely ineffective at lifting your mood? The recommendation splits right here. If you leave these boxes unchecked, focus on boundary setting and lifestyle adjustments. But if you meet all 3 criteria, you must pivot immediately away from self-care and toward clinical care. If you checked the boxes on the 14-day rule, Coping and Healing Counseling is designed to be your immediate safety net. You can initiate care today. Call 404-832-0102 or visit chctherapy.com to book your initial telehealth assessment. The urgency is in acting now. Do not wait for another long weekend to miraculously cure a medical issue. Stop trying to sleep off a clinical condition. Invest your time in the professional support that will actually